Greetings, fellow mortals. I'll give you 4 guesses as to which Saints Row game is my favorite. If you guessed anything other than Saints Row 4, you'd be dead wrong. I know that this might be a bit of a controversial take for the Saints Row community, and I will readily admit that they just reused the same city and a lot of the same assets from Saints Row 3. Not to mention that the story went so crazy that there wasn't much coming back from it in terms of grounding the series again. If someone didn't like the craze style of Saints Row 4, then it could be that they preferred the earlier games, which had a lot smaller scope in terms of scale. There's no denying that the game steadily went more absurd with each passing entry. They went with what felt like a GTA clone to the pure insanity that was the last game before the reboot. To the people who want the more grounded type of gameplay, I can completely get that perspective. Old school fans want something to compete with GTA, a crime game with a lot of driving, shooting, and old school sandbox gameplay definitely deserves to exist. I just don't think that it should be Saints Row. Most of the time, I prefer when series and franchises delight in their lore. I want them to embrace their mistakes and move on while celebrating the good aspects that came before. There's a reason that I'm not much of a fan of the new Halloween movies. Erasing some of the other movies feels cheap to me. Especially Halloween 4. I loved that movie growing up. It might be a guilty pleasure, but I don't like the idea of it just being tossed away. I would prefer that they did something new with the already established timeline instead. You might ask me how, but there's always a way. Look at God of War, for example. The best part of the new games is that they still keep everything from the previous games. It can come off as a different and more mature style because of its history. Not to say that I don't find the original tragedy of Kratos to be compelling. I did and I still do. I'd defend it in a heartbeat. But I would agree with the argument that the nudity and the use of female characters in the previous games tended to be a little bit cringe, and I won't defend those sex minigames at all, but the overarching story of all the games still sticks in my head. By embracing its past, the new God of War games grew into something that became beloved. I think the same thing could have happened for Saints Row if it continued. I know that there are fans that would prefer the old style of games, but I don't think that idea would work if they continued on from the 4th game. So to go back to the old style of gameplay, they had to completely reboot the series. Now it feels like Watch Dogs 2 a bit, which was an okay game, but I can't say that I liked any of the new characters and story in that one. As such, it doesn't make me want to touch the new Saints Row at all. Not to say that Saints Row was filled with the greatest characters ever constructed. They varied between hilarious and completely cringe to me, but this "how do you do, fellow kids" approach doesn't sit right with me. Just looking at the trailers and sneak peeks make me feel annoyed. Maybe I'm just growing older. I'm closer to 30 than 20 at this point, but these characters in the new Saints Row annoy me simply through their base existence. I don't want to spend any sort of time listening to them talk. So without the characters or story, that leaves the gameplay, all of which seems boring to me after Saints Row 4. I'm sure that it will function well. The aspects of building your gang up seem fun to me, but it doesn't feel like this is where the series should go. It feels like a massive step back to conform with what came before instead of trying to be unique. Say what you want about it, but the newer Saints Row games were as unique as they got, and I think that it should have continued down that trend. Throw away the Agents of Mayhem foolishness. That was never going to work. Instead, the series should have gone down the wildest ways possible. You might be asking what they could even do after Saints Row 4. The planet blew up, they fought the evil empire, they even defeated the devil in the DLC. There shouldn't be anywhere else to go, but that's where I say that everyone is wrong. There are places to go, it's just in the most wild ways possible. Don't stop. Keep digging into the most absurd things possible with each passing moment until the series can't even handle it anymore. Then you can do a reboot and make it into a joke. What do I mean by this? Well, that's simple. Embrace the lore. Embrace the setup. Embrace the absurdity. Make Saints Row 5 about conquering another planet and making it humanity's home. Then bring in time travel for Saints Row 6. Then bring in alternate realities for Saints Row 7. Then bring in gods to fight in Saints Row 8. Just keep going. Do not stop. Make it more absurd. Make it more meta. Make it wilder. You can keep it focused in a single city with driving mechanics in it. Make that a running joke. Just go wild with ideas and gameplay. Especially gameplay. I loved messing around with the powers in Saints Row 4. Make flying a mainstay. Give us strange alien weapons and multiverse guns. Give us more powers. Let us grow to the size of a giant. Let us shrink enemies to stomp on them. Let us de-age an enemy until they're non-existent anymore. Let us age enemies until they turn into dust. Spaceships, teleportation, punching a hole in reality. Just have fun with it. Get as creative and wild as you can possibly get. Make it get to the point where even the characters start to question how they ended up like this. At least that would be different. How many franchises seem to be watered down to the greatest common denominator now? Do something different. Don't be like Assassin's Creed. It made a lot of money, but Valhalla was divisive to say the least. It was because it was streamlined like all the other franchises. Let Saints Row be different and unique. Why not? I would say that they could get away with reusing assets if they make the story and gameplay unique enough. Yakuza does it on a regular basis after all, and that's a game series that focuses on fun. Remember fun? That's what games were always supposed to be. There's different feelings a game should try to give you, and fun should be at the top of the priority list. I think that Saints Row should focus on that first. Expand on the sandbox experience in the most wild ways possible. Take inspiration from modders and just go as wild as possible. Make a game that I can turn on for half an hour, mess around in the game for a bit, and then hop off to do something else. Take what these old concepts used to be and expand them to new heights. But I suppose that we won't get that. This new Saints Row direction is probably where the series will be heading for a while. That's fine, I guess. I do feel like we're missing out on something phenomenal and ridiculous at the same time. If given enough time and freedom with multiple projects, I think that developers could have found a way to revolutionize the sandbox formula. Maybe I'm a bit too ambitious, but at least the idea is exciting. Is anyone actually excited for this new Saints Row game? If you are, please leave a comment explaining why. I really want to know. But I guess I shouldn't take away people's fun. If you play the new game and love it, more power to you. I always want people to find joy in their hobbies. If Saints Row is actually a good time that's beloved by many people, then I will be happy for these other people that like this reboot. If they actually want this, after all. I don't remember people asking for entirely new characters and a new story. I guess that I'm more skeptical than I thought. I just wonder what the fallout from this new game will be. I have no idea how much money it will make, how popular it will be, or if it will do anything to change the landscape of game development. That will be a fun story to watch at the very least. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my takes on storytelling, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It would really help me out. Also, remember that I'll be self-publishing my novel, Dance of Frozen Death, at the start of 2023. I hope that you will check it out. I appreciate you. Do not despair.